Hello there, YouTube, and hello there, art students. I gotta tell you, I'm a little bit nervous. So, what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna do a two-part um, video on art criticism. So the first part I will try to make interesting. Uh, there's nothing inherently interesting about it, but I'll try to do my best. And then the second part, I'll try to bring what we're talking about in this video a little bit more to life. That's my plan. But I got to tell you, I'm nervous because, and I'll tell my students all the time, your opinion about art and your thoughts about art are your own, and you can't be wrong. I don't fault anybody for disliking or liking any particular style or piece of music or period. It's good, it's cool, and I try to do that with my students as well. So, but also now I'm getting into a little bit of scholarship here, and so I kind of have to be right. So because there's going to be lots of other artsy fartsy people that could see this video and say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, sir." So anyway, I'm going to do my best to make it good and meaningful and useful and be right. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be starting off this video again. My intention is to be less than 20 minutes. My next one might be a little longer. We'll see. To be less than 20 minutes. I may go over a bit, but and then get you thinking about art. So we're going to be using an art criticism technique created by, I wanted to get my little pointer out. Invented by Edmund Burke Feldman. So Edmund Burke Feldman is a current living dude. He's a well-known writer about art criticism and thinking about art. He teaches art at the University of Georgia. So shout out to Edmund Burke Feldman. And I'm doing just a tiny modification on his method of critique that sort of satisfies what I'm doing in this class. So when I ask you to critique an artwork, I'm going to be asking for a very specific thing written in a very specific way. Why, you ask? Good question. Because like I just said, when I ask you to write a critique, really I'm asking for your opinion and your thoughts and your reaction. And it's really an internal process, what I'm asking you for. I'm asking you to think about art. So how do I grade thinking about art? If you're wrong, that's cool. I'm okay with you being wrong as long as you're thinking. Now, the bad news for me is I have to be right when I'm doing this. So everything I have to do, I've got to do right. So anyway, but you are entitled to be wrong. It's okay. I just want you to look at, listen to, think about art. That's what I'm wanting you to do. So I'm going to ask you to write in a very specific way so that I can grade it, right? So because when you're writing for me, you're writing for a grade, and I want you to know how it is that you're going to be graded. So here's what I'm asking for whenever I say anything about writing a critique. I'm asking for 5 paragraphs, and each of those paragraphs has 5 sentences for a total of 25 sentences about art. There you go. Easy. So I'm going to ask that your sentences look and are constructed a certain way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to write me a paragraph that includes the introduction information about the work. So let's say that you're listening to a piece of music. The introduction stuff would be, who wrote it? When did they write it? What style is it? What year was it written? How big is, if a painting is it? What's it painted? What material is it used? What's the sculpture of? So you're just telling me the particulars of the work, and you're going to write that in sentence form. So 5 sentences about what's its title, who made it, who designed it. Somebody's making a little cameo here in my video. I already have enough pressure on me, Joey. And here you are showing up. I bet she's hungry. So I'm asking for a very specific thing in each one of these 5 paragraphs, 5 sentences about the introduction that tells me what it is that I'm looking at. And remember, I'm a reader and I can't see the work or hear the piece of music or, experience the dance. I can't experience it. So you're going to do that for me. So the first paragraph, 5 sentences, tell me about it. What is it? Who did it? When did they do it? Easy, cake. I'm going to skip down. So we're going to skip describe and we're going to go right on to, I'm sorry. We're going to skip analyze. I'm sorry. The next one is to describe. So in describe, here's what you're going to do. It's easy. You're going to tell me in 5 sentences what it is that you see. Now, this is different than who painted it, how big is it, what material is it made out of, what's the name of the piece. This is different. You're telling me what you specifically see, or in the case of music, what you specifically hear. So that's the second paragraph. Introduce it, 1 paragraph, 5 sentences. Describe what you see or hear, simple, 5 paragraphs. You can't be wrong, really. You tell me what you see. I'm not going to count you wrong for telling me what you see or hear. Now we're going to skip the third one, analyze. I'll come back to that here in just a few minutes because that's the only one it's not hard. It's just requires a little something. So the third paragraph, or the fourth one, is going to be interpret. Interpret is the fun one. You get to tell me what you think it means. What's the story of the artwork? What's the purpose? Why do you think it's titled the way it's titled? Why do you think the artist did it? What's the story that I'm supposed to get from it? What does it remind me of from my own life? So to interpret the work, really, that's what, you think when you think about looking at a piece of artwork or listening to a piece of music, that's really what you think about, the interpretation of it. What is the meaning, message, symbolism? What does it mean? What is the artist trying to convey in that work? Easy, 5 sentences. The last paragraph is to judge the work. Again, you don't have to like it. That's fine. You can hate it. You get to tell what you think about the work. So judging is I liked it because this. I did not like it because this. Again, it is not. It does not improve your grade with me if you tell me that you love a painting. Oh, I love it. If you're, you can hate it, and the grade will be the same. So I'm not asking you to sort of, pretend or be artsy fartsy. Like it if you want, but if you don't, that's fine. Tell me why. And again, that's 5 sentences. So let me recap. This is easy. It's 25 sentences. That's like 1 page. It's cake. We'll practice this. We'll do it together. Everything will be fine. The first paragraph, you tell me what it is that I'm looking at or listening to. Who did it? When did they do it? What's it called? How big is it? Where is it? Let me jump ahead here and show you what I mean by that. Boop. So this is a book. I just grabbed this book back here off the table and I took a picture of this little bit of painting done in the book. It's by Gustav Klimt. You're probably familiar with his work. He did The Kiss. You've probably seen that one. It's very famous on a lot of college dorm room walls. And if you look in so here's the picture in the book. And then down here below, there's a little credit line. And I just accidentally covered it up with my little stuff. But right down there below, and this is usually the way it is in books, or if you go to a gallery or a museum, there'll be a little tag right beside it. And it'll tell you the things that I just asked for. So in this one, this is going to tell you who did it. The next thing is usually going to be the title, which in this case is Let This Kiss Be for the Whole World. There you go. The next one, and then it also says that this is the Beethoven frieze. A frieze is a very specific thing. It's like a band of decorative stuff, usually on a wall around kind of the top. So this is the Beethoven frieze, and the title of it is Let This Kiss Be for the Whole World, and it was painted in 1902. See? Bam, easy. Underneath there, it says what material it's made out of. So this one happens to be paint on plaster. So it is on a wall. It's kind of a watercolory paint. And it has gold leaf in it. There's gemstones, mother of pearl, charcoal, graphite, and pastel crayons. Shablam. It tells you that right there in the little credits. Again, that will be in almost every book. I'm not saying that if you see a painting or a drawing or a sculpture in a book, I'm not going to guarantee you that that's going to be there. But almost always there will be this little credit box that'll usually appear kind of down at the bottom, or it'll maybe say like, facing page, or, it'll tell you that what the work is generally. So the first paragraph that we're talking about here, writing the particulars of the work, generally, almost always, 89% of the time, you're going to be able to find that information if you're looking at a book right down below it. So all this information is there, tells you how big it is right there. It tells you where it is, that this is in the gallery in Vienna, and I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce the name of that gallery. Well, there's even a little quote there about the work. So, look, people, this is going to be easy. Introduction, write about the particulars of the work. Tell me what you see. So, oops, boom. There's some women there, and they got big hair, blah, blah, blah. Interpret it. What do you think it means? At this point, this is where you kind of, interpreting the work is the fun part, but it also can be challenging too, because you have to think about it. So, you have to decide what the work means. Sometimes you can get some clues from the title, but a lot of times artists will be punks and they'll say it'll be untitled, and you'll be like, dang. And then you'll have to make it up on your own. You'll have to figure it out. So yeah, the interpreting is just where you get to bring yourself into the work. Because that's kind of what art is. It's a conversation between the artist and the viewer. We talked about that a little bit in the last video when we were talking about the definition of art, what is art, and what is aesthetic, and what is an artifact. So yeah, you have to bring yourself to the work. When you listen to music, you bring yourself to the work. When you're listening to the lyrics of a piece of music, a song that you like, you are putting yourself into that narrative. So yeah, judge, is it successful? Kablam. This is not hard. It's really not. And it's not a big writing assignment. 25 sentences, that's that's like 8th grade business right there. So, a high schooler should be able to sit down and write 25 sentences, especially 25 easy sentences like these: intro, analyze, describe, interpret, and judge. Now, the only one of these paragraphs that I will say it's not hard to do, but it does require a bit of knowledge, a bit of artsy-fartsy schooling. So anybody can do these other things: to introduce the work, to describe it, interpret it, and judge it. Anybody can do that. You don't have to have any fancy art schooling to do that. And analyzing it does require a bit of art knowledge, and really it's just a bit. So to analyze the work means to describe the work in terms of the elements and principles of art. Now, I will go over the elements and principles of art with you. I don't know if it'll be a video or in person, but they're not super hard, but they do require a bit of they just require a bit of book learning. That's the way it is. So when you're talking about the elements of art, or the elements of the arts, each of the different art discipline has its own elements, the basic structures and building blocks of that art form. So if it was music, The elements of art would be the tempo. How fast is it? The melody. What is the characteristics of the song? The rhythms. Are they complex rhythms, simple rhythms? The dynamics. Does the music go soft and loud, or you know the tone and textures of the instruments? So all of those things are uh, elements of the particular art form. So then you would have to listen to that piece of music and describe the tempos and rhythms and melodies. That requires a little bit of specialty knowledge and a little bit of book learning. It's not hard to do. It's just not something that any old body can do without some education. If you're looking at dance, the basic elements of dance are space, force, and time. So, how does the dancer, use their body? Are they strong, muscular musics? Are they movements? Are they grounded movements? Are they elevated movements? Are they leaps and jumps and twirls? Or are they, very strong, squatting, crawling movements? So when you think about the dance, you have to describe it in terms of what the artist is doing with the elements of art. If you're looking at a sculpture or a painting or a photograph or a ceramic pot or a piece of architecture, you would use the elements of design. So the elements of design are line and color and texture and shape and form and space. So when an architect, say, for example, creates a space, they're using the basic building blocks of architecture: space, form, line, color, texture. So the third paragraph, analyze, is not a it's not a difficult thing to do. It just requires a little specialty knowledge. So of the 25 sentences that I'm going to ask you to write, 20 of them are cake. They will be very easy. 5 of them will require a little bit of art knowledge, and you have to pay attention and write it down in your notes. Now, the good news for you is I'm going to give you all this stuff. So here's this. You, of course, put that in your notebook. Feel free to pause and write that down. By the way, while they're writing that in their notebook, if you're not one of my students, go ahead and right down there, click like and subscribe. Help me out. Put some comments down there. This is worth money, right? They monetize this stuff, don't they? Okay. Whenever I ask you to write a critique for me in class, feel free to use your notes. This information right here. I don't expect you to try to remember it. Write it down and use your notes. If I ask you to do a piece of music or a piece of or a dance, I'll usually give you like a cheater sheet to help you, because dance and music are a little different. They're always changing and moving. It may be a little tougher to do this, so I'll give you like a little cheat sheet. I want you to. I mean, I don't want this to be hard. I want you to learn it and do it, and I want you to experience this. So what I want to do is I want to give you a little, just a smidgen of a critique here. So I'm going to read a bit of a critique to you, and so you can kind of get the hang or understand what it is. Oh man, sales call, I'm guessing. So I'm going to read a tiny little bit of. I'm going to read a tiny little bit of a critique to you now. So the piece of art, I'm going to use these two. Well, I'm not going to. The person who wrote the critique is using these two, so I'm just going to show you. So this one right here is a painting, a large painting by Pablo Picasso called Guernica. And I just wanted to show you this image where you can see the little kid sitting there so that you'll have an idea of the size and scope of this. So again, this is a black and white image, but the painting itself is in black and white as well. And you can see, this person with their arms up in the air, and there's a bull over here, and this woman who's screaming into the sky, and she's holding this lifeless child in her arms, and this horse that has a spear shoved through its body, and so it's got all of these very intense images in it. So this is Guernica by Pablo Picasso, and I'll show you this next one. This one is the 3rd of May, and this is by Francisco Goya. And this one is also a very strong, a powerful image. This Napoleonic soldiers over here, this firing squad, and this guy, this light makes him glow, and he's got his arms up in a very sort of Christ-like fashion. And then down below, you got these, the blood and the corpses of those that have been shot already. So both of these are very powerful images about war. So if you're going to read about art, the biggest brain you can read is a guy named Simon Schama, a current, or Sir Simon Schama, I guess I should say, a current professor of history and art history at Columbia University. He is one of the biggest brains that I could think of when it comes to writing about art. And this is a recent article that he wrote. It was published in the Financial Times in September of 2020. So I'll just read a little tidbit of it to you. And this is some serious writing. This is what writing sounds like. It'd be nice if I could read it in his very beautiful British accent, but I can't. I'll go with my good old Kentucky drawl. The times that try us can also be the times when words fail us. Caught between platitude and histrionics, between the craving for normality and the need to articulate the perils of the moment, we fall back on the daily drone of commentary and the circumlocutions of politics. Into the space opened by this inadequacy come the howls of tribal fury, the shrieking tweet, the burning building, the rattle of gunfire, or, if it can manage to rise up to the moment, art. Wishful thinking, perhaps, but if we want to sense the terror inflicted by bombing on civilians with unparalleled immediacy, we look at Picasso's Guernica. If we feel the need to look at the unwatchable, say a firing squad emptying their rifles on a civilian, we find our way to Goya's The 3rd of May, 1808. No historical document has ever managed to match the spectacle of that dirty deed done in darkness, the victim martyr's arms flung wide in the attitude of the crucified Savior, a hand already burying the stigmata, and the executioners reduced to a faceless killing line. To dive into the abyss of Auschwitz, we read Primo Levi rather than the transcript of the Nuremberg trials. And if we want the first great statement of power of civil disobedience, that are the adamant quatrains of Percy Blythe Shelley's The Mask of Anarchy. Stand ye calm and resolute, like a forest still and mute, with folded arms and looks which are weapons of unvanquished war. Bang. So, again, he's like a super brain. We can't write like that. But we can do our best. We can try, and we can let ourselves experience art in a way that we can just aspire to experience it like, Simon Schama did in that little bit. I mean, that is some, the writing of it is art in itself. It really is good. So if you want to check that out again, it's Sir Simon Schama, Financial Times, September 2020, on Art's Return to the Barricades. Good stuff. So we're going to wrap up. Again, now after reading that, look, we got to stop a second and look at these paintings again. Goya's the 3rd of May, and Guernica by Pablo Picasso. My goodness. So, when you're writing about art, you're really relating to the reader your experience with a piece of art. So you really want to let yourself feel it. And I won't go on too much more because, again, I didn't want to go too long on this. But I'm sure that everybody listening to this video has a favorite song. Everybody has a favorite song. Now the question is, why is that your favorite song? What is it about that song that appeals to you aesthetically so much? And if I were to ask you to write about that, you would probably be able to emote a bit. You'd probably be able to share a bit of your inner workings and thoughts about why it's such a good song. What is it that connects it to you so much? Uh, and that's good. And with practice and with a little, my gosh, I should have muted everything before I did this, but oh well, I didn't. Um, so let yourself experience these works, um, and really relate that experience to the reader, and to share with someone your feelings and thoughts. That's powerful stuff. So yeah, anyway, sorry about the interruptions, the phone calls, the blings and blongs. It's crazy times in 2020, I got to tell you. And that crazy times is coming through. They just don't stop. Uh, so yeah, the current the day today is September 23rd. So and I live in Kentucky. So right now in Kentucky, there are protests in the streets of Louisville about the police shooting of a woman named Breonna Taylor. So that's why my beepers and bloopers are blowing up so much. It's just crazy times. It's crazy business. So yeah, everybody be safe out there.